Hey, all you creepy cats and kittens. Welcome to the Creepy Cascadia podcast.
I'm laughing too much about the cats and kittens.
I know. It was like...
You want to redo it, or is
No, I'm
okay?
keeping it. I'm Sammy, one of your hosts, and as always, I'm accompanied by my amazing co-host / husband, Adam. How's it going, babe?
Oh, it's going all right. Maybe
Threw you
people
for a
can
loop
hear.
there?
Yeah. The cats and kittens? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because we definitely have a kitten scratching outside of our bedroom door right now.
Yeah, it's Winnie. She never...
There she is.
Yeah, there she is.
She's like, you said my name?
Say her name. Yep.
Well, yeah, we're definitely all kinds of out of sorts right now.
Oh, yeah.
We went to, we took last week off because your parents were here, and it was great to have them here. And
Yep.
we went to go into the spare room to get set up to record and realized there is a bird's nest right above the window where we record in the spare room. And so all we heard was cheep, 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 cheep constantly. So we had to pivot, figure out a small space to record downstairs in our bedroom. So if we sound a little off today, we are not ideally set up, but we definitely didn't want to wait another week to bring you guys an episode while we figured out what to do. So, you know, it is what it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm sure the I almost said video. I'm sure the audio will still be okay, babe.
I hope so.
But yeah, it is a little off, not our norm.
Yeah.
I had to think. I was like, have we never recorded during spring? I don't think so. We started in the winter time.
We started in October.
Or yeah, the fall.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there were not any baby birds.
Nope. And we've noticed in the last, over the weekend, we have noticed we've caught so many spiders in our house, and we're like, we gotta frickin' spray our house because there are so many spiders, and Adam is not a fan of spiders. I mean, who is, really? But Adam really hates spiders. And so we gotta get, shout out to Home Defense. If you guys want to sponsor us, we recommend you to everybody because it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, we had such nice, so my parents were here, we had super nice days.
We did.
Did not take advantage, did not go out and spray.
Nope. Well, you were relaxing with your family. You don't want to go out and spray while your family's here.
Yeah. It's
funny because everybody that I told that your parents were coming, I'm like, oh yeah, my in-laws are coming. They're like, ooh, sorry. And I literally had to explain. I'm like, no. It's actually okay. Like, I have very, very nice in-laws. Your parents are very, very nice and very Midwest nice, I guess I would say, because they're very what can we do for you while we're here? And I'm like, you guys can fucking relax like that. You're on vacation. Just chill, Yeah. But yeah, I'm very blessed to have very nice in-laws because I know that is not the case for everybody.
Yeah, I think just a natural reaction. It's like, ooh, in-laws.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I'm just straight up like, visitors.
See, and I get excited because, I don't have a dad, and so it's nice to have, your dad around because he is, your mom, too, both are very, very nice.
Yeah.
It almost feels like I get to pretend like I have a dad,
Yeah.
I mean, I do. I have a really good father-in-law and a really good mother-in-law, so.
So, you said Midwest nice,
Mm-hmm.
all I could think of was, the Southern bless your heart, you know? What's that song? Isn't that, it's the We Should Be Friends.
Miranda Lambert. Yeah.
It's if you use God bless or something as there's one line in there. It's if you use and it's one of those Southern niceties.
If you use bless your heart as a negative.
Yeah. Yeah. If you use bless your heart as a negative.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I had to sing through it in my mind.
Yeah, oh yeah, I watched you do it. You're
you could just see the wheels
mouth
spinning.
only moved a little.
Yeah. But we had a great week with your parents. It was really nice having them out here. I'm sure by the time they left, they were ready to get back home. And I know they were super excited because they were picking up one of our nieces.
Yep.
And, Grandma was stoked to have a kiddo for a few weeks, so.
She's always stoked.
She is always stoked
to have the grandkids visit.
She was telling us about all the kids she gets. It's funny because she was willingly very excitedly wanting to take people's kids, and we're like, ooh. That's where I get the, ooh, I don't know about that.
Her house is made of candy.
Yeah, she lives in the woods.
Yep, she lives in the woods.
She likes to cook big pots of stew. Actually, she made a prime rib when she was here, and it was delicious.
A roast.
Yeah, prime rib roast with like or baked potatoes, and oof. It is funny because I've noticed she does the thing where she makes like so much food, and it's like, there are only 4 of us here. Like, she brought home like a big, because we did pulled pork one night, and she brought home like a big pork loin that was like gymongous. I'm like, I'm gonna have to cut this in half at least, or like I think we ended up like 3/4 and 1/4. There's a big old hunk that still went in the freezer because I'm like, that's not gonna fit in the crock pot. Like,
yeah. Yeah, we definitely misjudged how much the 4 of us were gonna eat because we still had a lot of the leftovers.
Yeah.
At like the end of the week, and it was like, gonna have to throw this out.
I know, and I feel so bad wasting, but
yeah,
I also don't want to get a foodborne illness. So
yeah,
and I'm very weird. You know me, I'm very weird about like, it's been in the fridge for like 3 days. I don't know, it's pretty iffy at this point.
Yeah, I think food can go a little longer than 3 days, but like 5, 4, 5, 6,
Yeah.
I think 5 is about the most. Like, yeah, it's like leftovers are for.
I won't eat anything past 5 days. Like anything past like 3 days, I'm like.
You're like done.
I was like, ooh, like we had that leftover prime rib, and I was like, this is like day 3. I don't know, but it ended up being fine. It was. I mean, it still tasted good.
Yeah.
But I just am very nervous about food stuffs because I hate getting sick and throwing up. And food poisoning is no fun if you're like...
It's no fun at all.
No, no fun at all.
There's no qualifier needed on that.
No.
Food poisoning is not fun.
10 out of 10 do not recommend.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I have to tell you why I put in the, hey, all you creepy cats and kittens. Because we...
Are you going to talk about our kitten that we've been trying to capture?
Yeah. So I know you guys are all very curious about our lives because, we're super interesting and whatnot. But, so we have this kitten that has been coming around our house that is a stray. And it is the cutest little kitten. It's kind of fluffy, but it looks real skinny. And the first time we saw it, it was like raining out, so it was wet. And it just looked so pitiful. So... we got a live trap because we're going to try to trap it. Adam says to take it to the Humane Society. We shall see what happens, but...
it's going to the Humane Society, people.
At least to get checked out. And you guys should see the face he's making right now. So, anyways, we are trying to catch it because we do want to take it to the Humane Society and get it checked out. Make sure, if it has a chip or... get it to a good home. Yeah, if not, they can adopt it out.
Yeah, We don't want it to be living out here on the streets.
No, because it's so small. Yeah, it made me super sad. I was telling Adam, I was like, I just feel so bad because we just we love our cats so much, and it makes it I never ever used to be the type of person that was super animal I grew up riding horses. I had a cat when I was in high school that I absolutely adored. But as an adult, I haven't had a cat or a dog or any pets. I like my friends' pets, but I swear, and I tell everybody, ever since I met Adam, he made me so soft when it comes to things like that.
I took that.
That's a compliment.
Broad off the streets.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm way,
I don't know where I was going with that one.
I don't know, but I like where it ended up in the sheets. But yeah. So now it's I see the stray and it makes me want to cry that he doesn't he or she doesn't get cuddled every night and treats every day and it doesn't have a home to go to. So we are trying to catch this cat. We did catch it the first night and it got out of the trap. So
yeah.
And then we also got a possum.
So it got out of the trap the first time.
And
then we tried again. We put some yummy
we put some puree treats that are the lickable treats.
Yeah.
Put some of those in there.
In with the bowl as an extra enticement.
Something got in the trap.
Something got in the trap and something got out of the trap.
We don't know what it was.
The trap was sprung. I think it was even on its side.
Tipped over on its side. So then we're like, okay. Adam was like, we should put some food in there and not set the trap for a few days to get the cat to come back to be comfortable.
Yeah.
We made a new friend, the possum, who ate all of the cat food.
Yeah.
And our cats just sat there at the window watching the possum. They didn't freak out.
But it was so weird.
But we started researching, and it said that cats and possums actually have like mutual respect, and so they kind of just stay out of each other's way. So I'm wondering if that's why, because Jax was like a street cat. You know, he was an indoor-outdoor cat, and he was a homie, so he was like outdoors. He probably has friends that are possums, so he's like, "Oh, you're Joe's cousin from back in Anacortes," you know.
Sure.
That's what I think, you know.
That's what you think?
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, I can, how do I get you the picture of the possum? Did I text it to you? So
you can. I'll post it on our socials. I'll post the picture of the possum that we made.
Picture of the cat we're trying to catch?
Yeah. I don't have a picture of the cat, but I do have a picture of the possum.
I'm saying the possum.
Yeah.
You know, for all our listeners, they're probably like, they're just trying to catch a possum. There's no cat.
No, we're not trying. Raccoon, yes. I want to catch a raccoon, like a baby one, so we can domesticate it. But
somebody was like, don't do that.
People are haters.
Kyle.
Yeah, he did.
Kyle's like,
they have rabies.
They have rabies. Don't do that.
And apparently possums don't get rabies.
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I don't know how much of this stuff is true. It's just what I hear on the internet.
Yeah, I haven't fact checked it, but Kyle's pretty smart, so
yeah.
I kind of take what he says, like, you know, it's like you. If you were to tell me something that wasn't super outlandish, you know,
yeah,
or I didn't believe you were just trying to fuck with me, I would believe you.
Yeah.
But yeah.
If I told you my trivia thing that like bees die after they sting you.
I've always heard that, but I don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah, but if I said it, you'd be like, oh, okay, it must be true then.
No, because that's like a lifetime of conditioning. Like, oh yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
What's that TikTok? The Egyptians believe the best thing you could do with your life is die. It's like me trying not to be weird at a party.
Yeah. This is my fact that I like to spout.
Fun fact of the day.
Fun fact. Whales have the biggest penises.
I don't think they do, actually. Maybe they do. I don't know. I don't have time to get into checking out whale penises right now.
I was like, I mean, clearly, like, not per size of rest of their bodies, but I'm saying if you, like, chopped every dick
like
off
ratio to...
and lined it up.
Wow, you went real dark there all of a sudden. Let's chop all the dicks off.
We chopped up all the dicks and lined them up.
This is where all the dicks hang out.
Still wouldn't be the biggest, because I don't know how tall your dad is. I don't know.
Oh my god.
Something dark side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had a great week. The weather was awesome. His parents were here for some really nice weather. We got to catch up. It was really good. So yes, so your birthday's coming up in a few weeks. Pretty excited for that. The cats already ordered your birthday present. They told me what you wanted, so I helped them with that. So yeah. Got some good things to look forward to.
Yeah. You got a question to kick us off today? What's
Well, it's so funny you ask because
I feel like we're like dancing around starting this thing.
No, I was just trying to have some fun before we start because it's actually a very heavy topic today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, before we get started though, that's my very next line. I have a question for you, my love.
Yeah.
What makes a serial killer a serial killer? Like, how many victims do you need in order to be classified as a serial killer?
I mean, I don't know anything legitimate. I'll just say three or more. Like, you know, one's just a random killing, two's whatever, three, you're doing it more than just
3 for the money, go cat go.
Something like that, pretty much. I mean,
well, damn it.
It's like so, but I also believe it has to be at different times.
Yes, so...
Or roughly, right? Because, like, I don't know if we've ever talked about this on the podcast or not, but, like, the difference between, like, a mass killer...
Like a spree killer.
Like a spree.
Yeah, there's,
or
like, a mass killer, spree
like,
killer.
Yeah, versus serial, right? So, in my mind, a mass killer is, like, one, let's call it, like, event. You know?
Like all the school shootings and mass shootings that we keep having.
Exactly. Exactly. And I would even offer that anybody who like attacks one place and then drives to a second location and goes there, like as long as it's still like I want to say continuous and
Yeah.
like in my mind the difference is maybe the fact of like you don't stop killing. It's not like you kill some people, go have dinner, kill some more people that same day. Maybe that's different.
Yeah.
It's like people who are like, I'm gonna get caught. I'm now just trying to like
take out as many people as I can.
Yeah, exactly. Take out as many people, and so it's like that's in my mind the spree or the mass killer. Serial killers, yeah, 3 or more, and I'm thinking they have to be spaced out, and I don't know if there's any like clauses about like unrelated. I could buy that maybe.
Okay.
Like the killings can't be connected. Like it's, I mean, are you a serial killer if you kill like a mother, then like a kid, even if they're separated? Like would that warrant you as a serial killer?
I think you're going way more in depth than what I was asking.
Okay. That's fine. You know me, I always overcook these.
No, I mean, I like where your mind's at, but I think, I think there have been cases in the true crime world where, a serial killer will kill like a mother and then also go on to kill like another family member. So I think that counts, but I'm going to give you the definition because you're fucking right, of course. Good guess.
Well, I have been to trivia with you guys twice.
Oh, fair. So according to FBI.gov, they define it as follows. Quote, the term serial killings means a series of 3 or more killings, not less than one of which was committed within the United States, having common characteristics such as to suggest the reasonable possibility that the crimes were committed by the same actor or actors.
Wait, why does one have to be in the U.S.? Is that just because it's a U.S. government law type of a thing?
I'm assuming so. I mean, there are serial killers that happen in other countries, but I think just because it's the FBI's website, like I literally, that is the definition on FBI.gov of what a serial killer is. So I'm assuming, it struck me as well, but that was like, so you're not a serial killer if you kill
Yeah.
And there are some bad serial killers in other countries that we will talk about eventually that are on our list because there's some really like crazy ones, like Jack the Ripper was like,
Oh yeah, right? Yeah. FBI was like, Jack the Ripper was not a serial killer. He killed no one in the United States.
Yeah.
He's
just a guy that, we don't recognize him as a serial killer.
Yeah.
Well, as you may have guessed from my question, today's episode is about alleged serial killer who operated in the Pacific Northwest, along with suspected crimes in the Midwest and even possibly Germany.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's like a reverse me.
Yeah. Maybe. So we do have to actually, I was not planning on it, but this one is also going to be a 2-parter, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
So I was looking up cases of like, okay, what do we want to do for this week's episode, right?
Yeah.
And I found a cold case there was like a recent article. It was from March 2023. So just a month and a half ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's a missing person that they just used some DNA evidence to catch her killer.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that this guy they found him while he was, like, he got tied to the crime being in jail for another murder. And also other, like, a sexual crime that we're going to talk about and a bunch of other stuff.
Okay.
So this guy is a piece of shit.
Okay.
Just a quick trigger warning for this episode. We do discuss sexual assault along with murder, so feel free to skip forward as needed. Because, take care of you.
Yeah.
So, again, like I said, it's going to be a 2-part episode because in researching this, I went down the frickin' rabbit hole and realized that this guy had way more crimes that we would have to talk about if we're mentioning him. Like, his victims deserve to be talked about more than he does. So,
would you say you stumbled across his other killings? Or, sorry, did you say that? I get this. I get this.
I'm like, is that supposed to be clever? I don't get it.
Did you say... Well, hold on. Let me do it right. Maybe you will think it's clever.
Okay.
Are you saying you stumbled across some more of his victims?
You literally just said the same thing you just said.
No! I used a different word for victims. I think I said killings the first time. And then I said victims the second time.
I don't get why stumbled, though.
Because it's an opportunistic serial killer. He stumbles, they just happen upon their victims. That's why it's clear. You stumbled upon the fact that he killed other people. That's kind of why I said killings the first time. But
I think that was a little bit of a stretch, but okay.
I'm gonna need the fan base to weigh in.
Humana. I literally was looking at you with a blank stare, like, what?
Why does he think this is like? Cause
well,
I had a face. I had a look on my face like I was so proud of myself.
You did have that smile,
and
that
you're
smirk.
Like, oh, he's about to drop a good joke, and it was like, and then you were like, no. That one's making the cutting room floor just because it's bad.
I will tell you, it doesn't sound like he was an opportunistic killer.
No.
Yeah. So it wouldn't be him stumbling across victims. I think he chose his victims. So yeah. So good try, babe. It would have been. It could have been okay. I love you.
That feels patronizing, but okay.
Don't fucking patronize me. Okay. Let's see here. So the piece of shit we're going to be talking about today is Darren D. O'Neall. Although he operated under many aliases while roaming the country. And apparently he was like super, super obsessed with Louis L'Amour, the writer, like the Western writer.
Oh, yeah, the Western. Okay.
And he often used characters from L'Amour stories as his aliases.
Okay.
So
Can I just say, like, why don't more serial killers use aliases? Or do they?
Without getting too much into a side tangent, I think it's their fucking cockiness.
Okay.
You know, like, they're just so arrogant that they're not going to get caught that they don't feel the need to hide their identity. Or maybe they do lie when they pick up their victims. We don't know because unless somebody got away. But I don't think, like, Ted Bundy ever used... Maybe he did. I don't know.
Maybe at the time, right? I mean, I guess it's like... If you're getting questioned by the cops, they're going to ask for ID. Mm-hmm. So you better have something that matches anyway.
Right. But some of these have fake IDs. And this guy, it sounds like he had fake IDs, too.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Excuse me. Okay.
Yeah.
So... He seemed so obsessed with the tales that he would often dress in, like, Western wear and talked about going off grid and living like L'Amour, like Wild West. Like,
okay.
He really, really identified with that, I suppose. Not sure why.
Well.
While he had quite a few criminal offenses and was well known to the police, including prior sexual assault charges in 1984, today we're going to focus on 2 of his 3 crimes that were committed here in the Pacific Northwest. And like I said, before I started researching the story, I hadn't heard of this guy. And I found it in the article about his 3rd victim that we're going to talk about next week. So, today we're going to first talk about his first 2 victims.
Okay.
And we're not going to talk much about him this episode, but I will tell you guys next episode after we discuss his 3rd victim, we're going to talk a little bit about him, and we're also going to talk about how he got caught and whatnot. Because he was like a real piece of work.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he ended up on the FBI's 10 most wanted list.
Oh, wow.
At one point before he was caught, so.
Okay.
I will also say that he is suspected in more killings, but he's only been convicted of 2.
Okay.
From what I saw. Now, I still have a little bit more research to do, but I did see several names that police believe he was involved with their murders.
Okay.
So.
Are they unsolved, or is he technically a serial killer? Do you just have to kill, or do you have to be convicted of?
Unclear.
Okay.
I would assume it's convictions, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they call them serial killers before they catch them, so
True.
they don't have to be convicted.
That's true. That is very true. Because if somebody gets labeled a serial killer, they just suspect it's the same person committing these crimes. So you're right. You could be very right.
They're like Scream. There's always two of them.
I'm woman enough to admit that I was wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and this first one is pretty rough. It's a 14-year-old girl. Okay. So just trigger warning, we're going to be talking about sexual assault. I'm not going to get into too much detail, but we are going to talk about what happened to her. So
that shit's like stab rape or something.
It's
full rape.
Awful.
Okay.
So on January 17th, 1987, in Portland, Oregon, an unnamed 14-year-old girl was abducted by Darren as she was walking to a convenience store. At the time, Darren was working as a truck driver when he spotted her. After passing her, it sounds like he then turned around and waited for the young woman to exit the store before forcing her into the sleeper section of the vehicle with a knife. He also apparently had a gun, or told her that he had a gun. He then drove her to a secluded area where he tied her up, gagged her, and proceeded to rape and sodomize her over the course of several hours. Yeah, pretty rough.
Yeah.
Gross. And I did read some articles that went more in depth of just how brutal he was and how sick he was, and we're not going to go into it.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that, babe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after the heinous assault, O'Neall actually drove the girl back to an area close to her home and let her go. So she immediately went to a nearby truck stop for help and was taken home. And it sounds like her parents were super worried because she was gone and they had already called the police. I wasn't able to find a police report, so I can't 100% confirm that. But from what I saw, it sounds like her parents were pretty, like, they knew she was missing and they freaked out. So they called the police and then they got her back. They took her in and she did a rape exam. I'm assuming it's similar to like a rape kit. But this was 1987. I don't know how different it was, but they did take her to the hospital and they did do an exam on her, which is awesome. So obviously the attack was reported, and although the details surrounding this one are sparse, I have to believe it's because she was a minor. 14's pretty young. So, but she would be key in helping identify O'Neall later. Okay. So good on her for coming forward and doing, her and her parents did the right thing. I can't imagine as a 14-year-old it'd be easy to discuss an attack like that, because you have to go over the details again with a stranger, and she was incredibly brave. And from what I read, it sounds like the issues that stem from this really affected her even after like therapy and things like that. So, which is absolutely understandable.
Yeah, it's a pretty heinous act, so
it's hard to wrap your mind around. Piece of shit.
Yeah.
Again, that's why I said this guy's a piece of shit.
That's one of those where like dad's driving around with a gun.
I'm
looking for.
I'm not a fan of vigilante justice, but sometimes I can see why it would be. Like, I don't know how much I would hate a dad for doing that.
Yeah.
Well, there's that one guy that it was like his son's piano teacher or some adult in his son's life that was like a role model or like a teacher of some sort or something, or a taekwondo teacher, I think he was like sexually assaulting his son for years. And when he finally got caught, the dad went to the trial and killed him, or shot him at least.
Yeah.
And he was happy to go to jail for it.
Yeah.
So I see the need to protect your children. Yeah, for sure. So the next victim was a young woman named Robin Smith, who disappeared after a night out with her fiance. And I'm going to go into more detail because that sounds like it's her fiance but no. But before we go any further into her disappearance, let's talk a little bit about who Robin was. She was born on April 4th, 1965 to Edna and Stuart Smith, and she was part of a large blended family. She grew up with 3 brothers and 2 sisters, which is a lot of people in one house. I wasn't able to find her birth order, But I did see that Robin's father was actually Edna's second husband. So, like I said, large blended family. Um, she and her family lived on the East Coast until Robin was around 12, and then the family would relocate to Washington State. Robin was described as somewhat shy and reserved, although she did love music, and some of her close friends gave her the nickname Rockin' Robin, which is just so cute, because she also loved to dance. So in 1978, Stuart and Edna would actually divorce. So Robin would have been around 12 or 13 shortly after they moved to Washington, it sounds like.
Okay.
And it sounds like Robin actually struggled quite a bit, as most kids do, with accepting her parents' divorce. So she became a little bit more withdrawn. She was pretty shy already, so she struggled to process what was happening. But she would eventually recover and begin to open up a bit more. And from the articles I read, it sounds like she may have become pretty withdrawn initially, like I said. So, you're new to a brand new coast, brand new state, brand new school. You're right at the beginning or right in puberty. It's a lot of changes. And then for your parents to get divorced, it's understandable how, some people just have a hard time accepting or, processing all the changes and things that are going on.
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to understand moving and then getting divorced.
My initial guess is they perhaps thought, what would save this marriage? A change of scenery, which happens quite often. This is only my guess. I did not see anything about why they got divorced, but it sounds like they did get divorced not too long after they had moved to Washington.
Yeah, so it could be that.
So it could, that happens sometimes. It's like having a baby. Like, a baby will fix everything. Spoiler alert, it doesn't.
Let's check. Nobody said moving fixes everything. Moving is like terrible. Moving is moving is like hard work. Like,
I think
uprooting your life.
It's more of like, you know what, the issue isn't us. It's our situation. So if we change our situation, we're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
And it's just most people aren't ready to. You don't want to throw in the towel quite yet and accept the fact that the marriage is over. So you're like, let's do this. Which is rough.
Am I the one in the wrong? No, it must be the kids.
It must be the kids.
Principal Skinner meme. Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
I
don't remember it.
It's basically, he's like, am I wrong? No, it must be the kids or whatever.
I mean,
who are wrong, and then people like cut out kids and put in whatever else they want, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, Robin grew up. She had some really close friends. She eventually met a guy who would go on to become her fiance, 23-year-old. At the time of her disappearance, he was 23. Larone Croston?
Okay.
Laron. Not 100%. It's like Larron. So we are now in March of 1987. Darren, the piece of shit killer, was living with a woman named Mary Barnes near Puyallup, Washington, and he was going under the alias Herb Johnson. Or Herb. Is it Herb? Herbert?
Probably Herb.
But herb is
what you say when you talk about it as like the spice.
Yeah, okay.
Herb is usually
Herbert.
Herbert the pervert.
Seriously, like way to lean into it there, Darren.
Yeah.
It's funny too because on this
They also changed to a Johnson.
Yeah. So it's funny because Darren, all I can think of is on the Scared to Death podcast, they're like, don't be a Darren. And Darren is like just a dickhead guy that is always the dummy that gets like possessed or something because he doesn't believe. And he's like, that's not real.
Yeah. That's not real. I invite these spirits in.
Don't say
possessed.
That. Straight to possession. Yeah. Straight to jail.
Straight to jail. My country? Straight to possession.
So that's all I think of every time I read this. I'm like, of course his name is fucking Darren,
Yeah.
So one night, Mary and Herb, aka Darren, were out at a bar where they met Robin Smith, who was 22 years old at the time, and her fiance, Lerone, who was 23, like we said. After shutting down the bar, Darren, Mary, Robin, and Lerone all headed back to Darren and Mary's apartment for an after party. So somewhere between 4 and 5 a.m., Lerone left to go on a fishing trip that he had planned. And Robin, who was having a good time, decided to stay behind at the apartment.
Ooh, sus.
Well, so I'm trying to put myself in this place, right? Like, I remember being 22. You go out to the bar, you meet some fun people, I have to admit, there were times that I did go back to people's houses. Never by myself, but with some people, which in hindsight is so fucking stupid and so fucking dangerous. Like, I literally don't even know these people. But I'm just saying, we've all...
But then when your friends leave and you stay?
Well, your fiance, yeah. So I never would stay, especially if I had like a fiance, I would not stay.
Yeah.
But, she's 22, she's having a good time. Like, I can see... hindsight's 2020, right? Like, we've all done things where we're like, wow, that was really not safe. And I'm definitely not victim blaming Robin at all. You know? Who knows what was going on?
True.
You just don't know. So, Robin said she would just get a ride back with somebody from the party, and Lerone took off to go fishing. At some point, Mary also left, and I watched a show called The FBI Files, where they talked about these cases, and they said that Mary had told the police after everything that went down that she thought that Robin and Darren were flirting, so she left with another guy.
From their house?
From their apartment, because she was pissed. But I also saw reports saying that she had gone to go get beer, but she was gone for a couple hours, apparently.
Okay.
At some point, Robin and Darren were alone in the apartment. So, Mary says when she returned home hours later, both Darren and Robin were missing. And while all this is going on, Lerone had gone out fishing, her fiance had gone out fishing. He got home and passed out because, he stayed up all fucking night and then he went fishing. So, of course, he passed the fuck out.
Yeah.
Surprised
he didn't pass out fishing.
I know, really? Maybe he did.
Get really sunburnt.
Yeah. I mean, it's March in Washington. Maybe.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until... Some reports I saw said that he actually didn't wake up until Sunday, the next day, which would have been Sunday.
Yeah.
And Robin wasn't home. So he kind of checked the house, didn't see her. He called her mom, Edna, thinking maybe she had gone to her parents' house. But after no sign of Robin, the family reported her missing to the Pierce County Sheriff. And anyone who knew Robin knew that she wouldn't voluntarily walk away from her life. She was engaged and she was happy. Her wedding was just coming up. And she really didn't have any reason to disappear. So...
Okay, so did Lerone remember where they were at on Friday night?
Yes. So the police went to the apartment where the party was and they searched. And I want to just point out, there was an article on Murderpedia that noted Robin's mom and other family members were not happy with how the investigation was going.
Okay.
And it said that they actually somehow finagled their way into the apartment as well and did their own search. And they said that they had found drug paraphernalia and other evidence that had been missed by the police. And they thought that it looked like a struggle had occurred. I don't know how much I believe this. I didn't see that in any other
articles or anything
else
about this. Yeah.
And that one you just have to kind of take with a grain of salt, because I just don't... Even if they did get into the apartment, they're not trained investigators, so you just, if you're stressed out about finding your daughter, you could possibly look at a lot of things and think that you're seeing something that maybe you aren't.
Yeah.
And I'm also just not...
Can I dump on the cops for a bit?
Sure.
I mean, if you go over to this place and you're like, well, they came over here willingly,
Mm-hmm.
And she stayed supposedly willingly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in the 80s, like,
she just went off with this other guy.
yeah, she went off with this other guy. I guess she just left her ex, or
Well, her
that's her ex
fiance.
now. Yeah, she's dumping that fiance. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? I'm trying to think of how much. We've talked before about how much care factor they have for different, like, what they consider maybe lower class citizens and a loose woman.
Yeah.
I mean, this is probably like a step up from a prostitute, and I'm not.
And
I'm literally jumping and putting thoughts in their head that we don't know, but
right.
I'm just saying, if they did a shoddy investigation, that would be my most plausible reason.
Mm-hmm.
Is
they were out partying. She did a risky thing, and look what happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately,
exactly.
there was a lot of that went on.
Yeah.
Along with, like, if you don't want to get raped, just don't wear short clothing. Like, you shouldn't provoke the boys.
Right.
That is the biggest line of bullshit I've ever heard. By the way, that was me being super sarcastic. So.
Yes.
Yeah. So I wanted to mention it because, like I said, I'm not sure of how true it is, but I did want to mention it because it sounds like the Pierce County Police Department at the time was really understaffed. So do with that what you will. They may not have just had the manpower. Unfortunately, you can't pull a cop out of your ass. Like, I mean, maybe you can, but
pull a piece of shit on my ass.
You
not gonna be a good cop.
Yeah, he's gonna be a shitty one. We see that in every job field goes through that, right? Especially law enforcement's not the easiest career to go through, and so there are times that they just don't have the manpower to do, and it sucks because the people that suffer are the victims. It's just like a second injustice, but that's what it sounded like.
Yeah, it's right. You're staffing for, like, no guarantee that, like, X number of crimes will be committed.
Right. So, like I said, Robin's family believed there were signs of a struggle in the apartment, but that's just one article I read.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff I read got a little murky because the sources weren't sources I use all the time that I trust the most.
Yeah.
But they also said that they thought that maybe Mary had hidden Darren after the crime was committed at her apartment. So, like, maybe he was there and she was helping him. Like, maybe she knew. I don't know. There was lots of speculation, and I think a lot of that was coming from Robin's family herself because, they're a grieving family. They're trying to find...
They're trying to pin it on somebody. I mean, they're trying
to
find...
They want justice, right?
If they think she's dead or something and this guy did it.
Yeah. Yeah, so...
Yeah.
So most of the articles I read said that Robin's mom was kind of her biggest advocate when it came to finding her daughter.
Okay.
And their biggest suspect was this Herb/Darren. There were reported sightings of Darren at a hospital, in the days following Robin's disappearance. So he went in. A few nurses actually requested that some of the male nurses or male hospital staff came out because this guy just gave him the creeps from that TV show that I saw.
Oh, yeah.
Which, obviously they have very good radar, so good on them.
Yeah.
But he'd had, like, they could see, like, visible scratches on him. But he left without being treated. And then he was also seen twice by a roadside flagger in the days following the disappearance. So on March 30th, Darren's car was found abandoned at a rest stop near Everett, Washington. And I will say this wasn't actually his car, but the car was checked, and, police, when they find an abandoned vehicle, they'll run the tags, right? Check to see if there's any outstanding warrants, basically check. So the stater that found the car called it in, and the operator that checked the plates mistakenly entered an MO instead of an MT for Montana. Because the car was registered out of Montana, so it came up as nothing.
Oh, okay.
So, they called the tow truck driver, they sent it to an impound lot, and police later found out that the car was actually stolen in 1986 from an Idaho man who gave a description of O'Neall, who he had picked up as a hitchhiker and who had stayed at his house for like a week or two before stealing his car. Which I'm like,
dude, shady.
The guy that picked him up is shady.
Oh yeah.
Why would you pick up a hitchhiker and let him stay at your house for a few weeks?
I'm gonna throw this out there. Idaho, Mormon, trying to do a good deed.
Oh,
that should happen.
Fair. That could be it.
I was gonna throw it out there. Yeah. Like,
fair.
Somebody trying to do good, take,
Yeah.
Who knows? And guess what? You got your car stolen.
Yeah. So, but, Darren had used an alias, Jerry Zebulon McCranahan, which I'm pretty sure is from Louis L'Amour.
It's another alias?
Yeah.
Oh, do you want to hear some of my aliases that I think you should go by?
Joe Snuffy?
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
These are all based off of you calling him Herb instead of Herbs.
Okay.
He goes by Tim, but it's spelled time. Gregano.
Gregano. Oh my god. Have you been sitting there thinking about that the whole time?
Only for like the last minute or so. Ever since the last time you called him Herb and had to correct yourself. I was like, man, herbs and spices. I'm like, what spices else could you go by aliases?
Oregano, that's the best one.
Yeah, well, what came to mind was like oregano, and I'm like, what could that be? Oregano is like Greg. Oregano, and then I was like, you know what is better? Tim and Time. Like,
he went by the nickname Parsley Pete.
Yeah. Salty Sam.
Now I want to think of names that goes with spices.
All go with spices. Yeah. Too bad. You got to run upstairs and open the spice cabinet, spice cupboard, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I'll get back to the story. Thank you for that. I needed to laugh.
You're welcome.
Okay, so like we said, this car had been taken to an impound lot, but it wasn't tagged that it was part of a missing person case, right?
Yeah, it was just an abandoned car.
It was just an abandoned car.
Yeah.
Luckily, there was, I think it was either somebody that was at the lot to buy a car or somebody that worked at the lot, recognized the car and the plates and called the police because he had seen an article in one of the local newspapers about this car that police were looking for. So police showed up. A search of the vehicle turned up a bloodstained jacket that was identified as Robin's, human teeth, hair, and blood in the trunk, I believe. There were extensive searches near the area where he'd been spotted by the flagger because police believed that he had been searching for a spot to dump Robin's body. Edna, Robin's mother, led many of these searches herself and never stopped searching for Robin. On May 25th, 1987, one of these searches would find partial skeletal remains that would eventually be identified as Robin Smith. So they initially only found a few bones, and many of the articles I read stated that Edna herself went back to the site to find more of the remains, and it was like 2 weeks, since the police required more in order to make a positive ID. There were some difficulties in using dental or blood records, since it was reported that Robin hadn't been to the dentist since she was a child, and she also didn't have her blood type documented anywhere. So that made it harder for them to make a positive ID on the body.
Okay.
So, like we said, this mother was adamant in her search for Robin, and her efforts paid off because the medical examiner was able to confirm the remains were in fact Robin's after the jawbone that Edna found was brought in. So at this point, an arrest warrant went out for Darren.
Yeah.
And this is where we're going to end this episode, because if we get into the next one, it's literally going to be like another 45 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. So part 2.
Yeah. So like I said, I know we don't love doing part 2-parters, but like I said, I found the case that we're going to discuss next week was the one that caught my interest when researching. It was
Okay.
Wendy Ogg, I think is how you say her last name.
Okay.
So she is the second victim that has been tied to Darren. Although I will say right away, her body has never been found.
Spoiler.
Well, I just want people to know if you're going next week, like, we don't, there's her body and of her family, like, you know, her body has never been found. So,
yeah.
Sorry, what?
Can I throw out some thoughts or questions before we like wrap up?
Absolutely.
So, which I think you said he was already convicted of
Mm-hmm.
one of these.
So he was on file because he'd had previous run-ins with the law. Yeah. His father was in the military, so you know, for a time he had lived in Germany. He actually enlisted in the military as well and lived in Germany in Bremerhaven. I don't know. It always pops up.
Yeah.
But he was living, I think, in Colorado Springs at the time, and it's in my notes for next week. But he was living in Colorado Springs, and he was arrested. I can't, off the top of my head, I can't remember if he was actually arrested or if he was charged with sexual assault of a woman who disappeared.
Okay.
And so the charges were dropped.
Okay.
Yeah. I will confirm all of that again next week.
Okay.
But he did have, you know, the police knew who this guy was.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like he had a hard time staying out of trouble.
Yeah.
As lots of pieces of shit do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, the second thought was, you mentioned that, yeah, the family thought the police didn't do their best efforts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when they're like, we've been looking for this car, and it's in their impound lot. How can you, like, as a parent, I would be like, fuck these people instantly. Like, I mean, right? Like,
I will
you've
say,
been looking for this car and it's found in your impound lot, or maybe they take it to a different, like, impound. But that right there would lead, I mean, I know that they didn't barge into the guy's house, like, and see a struggle in the time it took them to, like, find the car, right?
Yeah.
But I mean,
I will say, when I was reading this, some of the things I was like, you know, sometimes I feel really bad when I fuck up at my job, and I'm like, you know, it's not that big of a deal compared in the grand scheme of things, because it's not hindering a murder investigation.
Yeah. And especially when they found all that stuff in the car.
Well, so,
like,
yeah, that part is very,
they don't search a car when they find an abandoned car?
I would assume if you found an abandoned car, like, you know what, let's just give it the once over, just to kind of make sure.
Yeah.
You know? So,
I looked in the back, I saw some teeth, some blood, bloody jacket. I was like, yeah, okay.
I think it was in the trunk, but still.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't pop the trunk.
Oh, I would, but I'm nosy as fuck. I probably would be a really good police investigator because I'd look at fucking everything.
Well, I'd be like, what? I mean, yeah, it's like, could there be a bomb? Could there be other, like, in my mind, like an abandoned vehicle? Unless you have like some really strict laws about like search and seizure, but like, you know, I mean, half the time those abandoned cars, like, they put stickers on them and like allow like so much time goes by and then they tow them.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, here's my thought. Okay, so if the police department is stretched super thin, they did their due diligence, right? They ran the plates. They did not, I don't think they looked in the trunk, because I think if they had looked in the trunk, that would have like raised some red flags. I would hope.
Yeah.
So maybe they took it to the impound lot and it just hadn't been processed yet, right? Like, it was sitting at the lot waiting to be processed. Maybe there is a procedure, but because it wasn't like, it didn't set off any alarms with them or didn't flag anything, it wasn't a priority.
Yeah.
Because this other cop did call it in, but he didn't know that they were on the lookout, because, you know, different counties, you find them in different counties or whatever. So I do want to give like the benefit of the doubt. Maybe there is a process and it just hadn't happened yet because it didn't raise any flags, so it wasn't a super priority to comb this vehicle. Would be my only like caveat to that.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to think of like I guess in my imagination, in my mind, it's like weeks. You're right. If I guess I'm having trouble remembering exactly how you described it earlier. Like in my head, it was like somebody came to buy the car or something. But
somebody saw it on the lot. I'm not 100% sure if
yeah,
it was a worker or somebody that was there to like look at cars to buy. You know?
yeah, or like you said, yeah, if somebody's processing, that would make more sense. Like
Yeah.
somebody processing the car in would probably rerun the plates,
Mm-hmm.
and then you might find a hit depending on how.
Well, it sounds like this person actually just recognized the car and the plates from an article in a newspaper.
Article.
Yeah. Which,
yeah, so this
thank
isn't
God,
like they
because
ran the plates again and got a hit. And
I don't
like,
think so.
we're looking for this car.
No,
Yeah.
but I mean, think about it. Like, thank God that guy did, because what if they didn't? What if their process they don't process like investigate a car or like run any type of test? Now, again, you have to remember we're in 1987, so long the process that whole thing could have been like they could have crunched it or sold it at auction, and they would have a really hard time tracking it down after that.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so good on the guy who saw the article, saw the car, said something, you know. I mean, there's so many times that we're like, at my job, it's like, if you see something that's off, like, say it. Yeah. Say something, like, you know, it's like we, you know, it's kind of like the terrorism, like anti-terrorism stuff. It's like, see something, say something.
Or with anything, like human trafficking, see something, say something.
Yeah, it's like if something feels off, like just ask somebody. Let somebody know that, hey, I thought I saw something that was weird.
It doesn't hurt.
You know?
It doesn't hurt anybody to just maybe make the comment.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this seems kind of weird. Can you check it out?
Yeah.
And that's all you can do, you know?
Yeah, what's the worst thing? You could be a person who's like a worrier, or like, I mean, like, what are the odds that you tell a suspicious thing to the same person again and they're like, oh, I remember you. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
and you know what? If I'm labeled as that type of person, oh well, because if it saves one life and annoys some people, oh fucking well.
Right.
It saved a life. Or, you know, it helped. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that old adage of like saving one life versus like annoying.
No, I'm not saying like if you shouldn't be that nosy old lady that sits on her lawn like, this person walks by my house looking real suspicious. I need you guys to check it out. But you know.
Karen squared.
Karen squared.
I almost said Helen. That'd be Karen squared, but I don't know.
Don't say
I
Helen.
I was like, wait, Helen.
Gigi Ma's not gonna like it if you say that. I mean, she doesn't listen to this, but
other people do.
They might rat on you.
Hey, you better cut that.
No, I'll leave it
for real
in.
This time.
Nope.
Not like people telling me I say cut it and you leave it in.
Hey, generally when I say no, I'm leaving it in, I leave it in.
Yeah.
So that would be my guess, you know. And like I said, we're going to get more into it. I do have more notes on him for next week.
Yeah.
But I don't want to go too much into it because there's just, like I said, I had no idea when I was like, oh, I love like cold cases that are solved with DNA. Like I just absolutely love those types of cases because eventually justice does get served.
Yeah.
But then it led me down. I was like, I've never heard of this guy. And he was, you know, operating out of Washington State. Now, I will say that I think they had actually investigated him for some of the Green River, like possibly having a tie to the Green River killer or some of his victims, because they kind of were operating in the same area at the same time. But obviously we know that wasn't him. Like we know Gary Ridgway did that. But again, this guy, like the police had an idea of who he was. Like they weren't sure where he was, but they knew who he was. Yeah. And all of they were like putting together all his aliases and all that good stuff. So
yeah. Yeah, this guy should have been caught. Or he should have been caught right around the time that you had the first gal, the 14-year-old girl who he let go. Uh-huh. So she kind of had some description, something. Yep. And now this case, the second lady, where it's like you have Robin's fiance. Mm-hmm. You have Mary, his like live-in girlfriend or whatever. Like both of them know that something's up. Like when Robin doesn't come back, they should all be like, this guy. I mean, I don't know how much.
Well, and I think they did, right? Like, I think her fiance did say, like, this guy, his name was Herb. He was at this house. Like, but again, he'd been using an alias. So if you have an alias and you don't have a lot of things, if you pick up and leave in an apartment, it's not like that person can track you down because really that person doesn't exist.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, he must have just never came back to that apartment and got with Mary again. I mean, that's like, yeah, it's so...
I don't think he did.
And she's like, I didn't love him anyway. Good riddance, you know? I mean, like, probably was like straight up like, if he's out here killing women, I got off lucky,
Yeah.
you know?
Well,
Maybe there's some fear there that, like, he could come back. He knows where I live, blah, blah, blah.
fair.
You know?
Fair. And, there was, the 80s were wild. I think there might have been a lot of cocaine going on. That's just my guess.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying any of the people in this story did that, but I'm just saying.
Like, why didn't LaRon go to the places? He's just so upset that this gal was, like, flirting with, you know what I mean? There's so many.
Well, he did go to the police. He went to her mom, and he reported that she was, missing. Like, she alerted the family, and then they went and made the report.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
But then, again, it's like, he couldn't remember where they went, like, Friday.
No, he did.
He did.
Are you not listening to me today? What?
I don't know. I'm having trouble.
They made the report, and then they went back to the apartment to search it.
Went to the apartment and said, nothing happened here. We don't find anything, right?
Well, the police report didn't. Yes. But LaRon did find, he did
file.
He and her family filed the report. He gave them the address, or he at least led them back to where they were, because that's obviously her last known sighting of her alive.
Yeah.
So yeah, he did though.
Yeah. So once again, I'm kind of with them on the cops being.
Yeah.
Like, you had your chances.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But like I said, to give them a benefit of the doubt, if this guy took off and nobody really knew who he was, it is harder to chase a ghost, essentially, right?
Yeah.
But I think they started like collecting fingerprints and stuff, which, was the peak identifying tool in the 80s because, DNA really wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
But they did, I will say in the next case, it sounds like they did a good job of preserving DNA because they did end up catching or connecting him.
Okay.
Some however many years later.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. I think I peppered you with enough questions here at the end. I think
yeah.
I'm sorry. I think info retention is low tonight. I think
it's been a day.
It's been a day. I think our surroundings of I don't know.
We're a little off kilter.
Yeah.
And I feel like my notes are maybe a little off kilter too, so I apologize if anybody's confused. I promise to make sure I organize my notes for next week a little better, but
no, I think your notes are fine. I think I'm not focused.
We're thrown off. We're totally we're recording. We set up a makeshift studio downstairs because the damn birds.
Yeah.
We should
baby birds, but we wanted to be nice to the.
I'm about to let Jax out there up on the roof.
We wanted to be nice. Well, no, if that were the case, I would have just stapled some things up there, and the mom and dad birds could sit there and peck through chicken wire, some fencing at their little baby birds. And
yeah, we don't want to do that.
It's like that time when the woodpecker was on the side of the house. It was like, well, we can try to trap or kill the woodpecker, or we know that they migrate, so we'll just.
Yeah.
Or was the woodpecker before your time here?
No, I was here when the woodpecker happened.
Okay. Yeah.
I wasn't living here when it first started, but I was living here when it came back.
It was like the spring, right? Wasn't it the spring? Right.
I think I had come to your house, and you're like, my neighbor left me a note on my door, and it was like, you got a woodpecker pecking a hole in the side of your house.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we had the saga of the woodpecker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That spring, summer.
And then I remember distinctly telling you the story of my old landlord when. Well, I don't want to say it because I'd get in trouble, but
yeah.
Yes, I have a funny woodpecker story about my old landlord.
Yeah. Baby birds, we're gonna let them live. We're gonna let them fly.
Yep, and then we're gonna
let them
grow up,
and then we're gonna patch up all the shit so that this never happens again.
Yeah.
So we can record in peace.
Mm-hmm.
There's still no guarantee that we have a bush right outside that room.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be in there chirping anyway, in the bush. Even if they're not up in the nest.
Yeah.
So
we need to set up a little she shed that we turn into a podcasting studio. It's a wee shed. Well, anyway, so yes, make sure you tune in next weekend. We're going to be talking about Wendy Ogg, who was the next victim of Darren, and then we're going to talk about how he was found and arrested and how he was tied to the other crime. So. As always, thank you guys for listening, and don't forget to subscribe and download our show, as well as leaving us a rating, a review, on whatever platform you're listening on. All of these help us become more visible to more people and helps us grow our show. Also, please help us out by sharing us with your friends, family, social media, all the things. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Creepy Cascadia Pod. And you can also check out our website, which is creepycascadiapod.com. If you have a story you would like read on the air, like if you have a haunting, if you've seen Bigfoot, please, please, please send me a story about Bigfoot because he's my homie. If you've had, seen a UFO or you've had your own encounter with a true crime incident, send us an email. You can message us on our socials or you can send us an email to admin@creepycascadiapod.com. Like we said, again, thank you guys for being understanding of no episode last week. We were enjoying some family time, but we will be back next week for the second part of our episode about this twat named Darren.
Oh, I thought of another one. Phil Dill.
Oh, God, Phil Dill. That's a good one.
Phil Dill or Dale Dill, if you like alliteration.
Will Dill.
Will Dill. Oh, yeah.
Will Dill almost sounds like dildo. Well, with that, we're going to say goodnight. We hope everybody has a great week, and we will be back next week. Bye.
Bye.